Okay, so today I wanted to talk about something I just experienced and how I'm kind of bringing it together. Okay, so today I just walked around. I felt like I was on a mission of some sort, you know. I went overseas for my third tour. I just got back last August, and there's something about changing your time clocks, your own personal time clocks, and it's like I went overseas, and it's like, sometimes it's a stressful situation, sometimes, it's something about the mission, the mission. It always really excites me, like, always really excites me. And I never feared anything. I never worried about it. I always knew that I was protected. I always had this feeling of being totally protected. And I always knew that whoever was in my little circle, whoever was right next to me, was always protected too. And it's just a knowing. It's just something that I know intuitively. And, you know, and it's like when I went on this whole road trip, I always knew that I was totally protected. And it's really interesting about the stars when I talked about the stars, because everywhere I went, when I went on my road trip, I would feel something, like as if my Akashic records, as if whoever is protecting me was like, slow down and check it out, check it out. So I would pull the car over, and I would open up the moonroof. I got a moonroof, and I would just like pop out, and I would look at it, and I realized that the stars were like, it was like a bowl, right? So it's like I'm out on my moonroof, and it was like I'd look out, and it was like a bubble. So it was like it went all the way around me, and then it was like it came around like this. So it's like kind of like a little, like a little homing beacon, like a circle. And I could see all the stars, all around me. And it was like a constant bubble that I was in, and I would just drive, and no matter where I stopped, I just looked up. I would get out of sometimes I would get out of my car, and I would just look up, and it was like they were just following me around to wherever I went, because sometimes the atmosphere would be too much, and I would just look up and be like, oh, I'm in my own little bubble, I think that's something really cool that I never noticed. I felt protected. I always knew I was protected, but then to actually see that I was protected, it was like, these electrons, in my other videos I talk about electrons and the energy in that, and it's like, the bigger system is also the smaller system. And it's like when you trust the inner system, the little smaller systems, you realize that the bigger systems, they protect you. They protect you. And it's one thing to know it, and it's another thing to experience it, but then to see it, and you're like, wow. It's like it all comes together. And it's so exciting to be able to see that, because then you're like, wow, the smaller systems and the bigger systems, I can see it, and I can feel it, and I know it intuitively, I feel like you just know what to do. And that's why following your heart's so important, because when you follow your heart and then you make that connection with like the ancients, with like that knowledge of knowing why you feel that way, and then seeing it, it makes you really excited. And that's what I felt like when I was overseas, I don't think I ever talked about this. So, on my journeys overseas, I felt a lot of respect for those people. A lot of respect for those people. Why did I feel so much respect? Because I would watch them. And I saw the way that they would sit. They would sit like, I don't know if you can, let me adjust this. They sat like this, you know. They would just kind of hang out. They would sit like, well, this is how I sit. I feel very comfortable, you know. And that's how they sit, and it's so calming because you don't use any muscles. You just sort of relax. You know, sitting can be so uncomfortable sometimes. And sitting down and putting your butt straight on the ground can be kind of uncomfortable. But I find that when you like just relax your system, it all aligns somehow. And I do that naturally, and I didn't even think about it. And then I see them do it, and I'm like, wow, you know, there's something about that connection that they just know intuitively. And then also, I also noticed that they are so resourceful. So resourceful. They can, you know, they have all these older vehicles and they use them. You know, they just use them, and then they find whatever is in whatever they have to like refix that thing, and they just keep using it. They don't you know, they don't need to update things all the time. They just reuse and recycle everything, you know. Excuse me. And you know, they talk about how they can make, you know, they can make bombs out of anything, they can make anything out of anything. They can literally take their own urine and they can boil it down to use uranium. I mean, they literally use their own system to make things out of it. They're little scientists, you know, just by using their own resources. And I find that so amazing. Like, yes, it can be used to be destructive, but at the same time, it's so intriguing that we rely on other things, not realizing that we have all of these things in our own system. But they know that. They know that intuitively. And I have a lot of respect for that, you know? I'm not saying the way they use it is the right thing, but I mean, we also have to look at ourselves and say, are we always doing the right thing? I feel like that's kind of a negative statement. I'm not trying to be negative. What I'm trying to say is that, you know, they got like 6 and 7-year-olds, and I see them working on motorcycles, you know, and the kids, they just know what to do. It's interesting. And also, you know, they make it, you know, I feel like too often we make fun of like what they do, and the fact that they can make houses out of the sand. They make their own home out of the earth is like amazing. That's so amazing to me that they do that. And they don't need anything else. It's perfect, you know what I mean? And our system is, you know, the same, but it's different. It's amazing, you know what I mean? And I feel so settled right now. I think that's why I have so much respect for them, because sometimes we didn't want to go over a bridge, you know? We felt uncomfortable going over a bridge, so we would go down into the gully, you know, where the streams were, and it was very muddy and difficult to get through. So when we would go down into the little gully, you know, they would think, oh, okay, is there something wrong with that? You know, just the locals. And they would go down in there too with their little vehicles, and we'd all get stuck. Like, I even have a video that I found so interesting, because they would get stuck and we would get stuck. So we're all stuck in the mud. And what was really cool to watch is that while we're helping our own people using like the wrecker, because I was part of the wrecker crew, we'd be like wheeling out the winch, you know, and it's super heavy, so we'd have other, you know, our own people carrying this heavy, you know, tool out there to pull people out. And what I thought was really cool was that when their car got stuck, when anything got stuck, they would use any means possible. They used manpower. I actually saw that they would bring like enough people over to the car, their car that was stuck, the little Honda or whatever they had, and they would literally get like 14 people and lift the car up and move it out of the mud. And I was like, wow, you know, and no one had to ask for help on their side. It was like you just do it. They would use their own manpower to do it. And there's nothing wrong with either system, but I find it really interesting that so often we judge the other side, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's beautiful that they just know, oh, my friend's in danger. My friend needs help. Let's go help him out. They don't even worry about time. They don't worry about where they gotta go. They just see that someone needs some help, and they do it. They help him out, you know. And so many times I see people on the side of the road, and I think, man, if I was overseas, there'd be like the man in the tractor. There's always this guy that had a tractor overseas. They have like these tractors, the big old wheels, and it was like, you know, it was like their AAA system, you know what I mean? Like, there's always a dude with the tractor. There's always like people going by, and they just stop and they help each other. They don't think about it. They don't think, oh, well, you know, I gotta go to work, I gotta do this. It didn't matter, because they're helping their own society. I think that's amazing. I think that's so amazing that they do that. I have so much respect for that. You know, we can choose to look at one side or the other, but it's positivity, you know, and they don't even think about it. They do it naturally. That's the difference, you know? That's the difference. And we get so upset. We get so upset about, oh, well, these many Americans are dying, and, you know, this happened here and there, and, you know, what we don't realize, what I think we don't realize is that, okay, they do what they do because they don't like us barging in and forcing our way in. But what we got to realize is that things look differently over there. So when we come over there and we look scary and our vehicles have, like, you know, all this armor on it, we have all this armor protecting us from what? You know, it's like, think about it. If they came over here in something that we've never seen before, and they said, you gotta go to sleep at this time, and you gotta do this at this time, and we're gonna come through, and we're gonna barge through your cities, and we're gonna, you know, we're gonna just do what we want to do, and we're gonna, you know, just smoke and litter and all this other stuff. We're gonna do whatever we want to do with this arrogance. You know, well, what would we do if someone did? What would we do if someone did that to us? How would we feel? We'd be like, what are you doing, man? We're just fine. We're just fine the way we are. You know, if someone does something from another country over here, why do we feel the need to force around pieces? Why do we do that? You know, it's not necessary to do that. We have to look at both sides of the situation and realize, well, okay, it takes two to tango. What happened here? What happened here? We don't need to force anything. We need to be humbled. You know, we need to be humbled in that situation and say, okay, well, why did this tower fall? Why did this happen? You know, why? Why do we cause this traumatic situation? And why would we want to make it? Why would we want to make it worse? We don't want to make it worse. And maybe that's why I felt so protected. Maybe that's why I felt so protected over there. I feel so protected everywhere. It's because it's the respect. It's the humbling respect, knowing that everything happens for a reason, but it's like humbling yourself and making you a little bit smaller in that moment. To just breathe, to just be curious and look at what you're doing and say, I don't want to be that negative, forceful situation. I don't want to be that. You know, all this preparation that we do, it's like, I know it's all for a reason, but we got to trust each other. Come together and trust each other. And we don't have to fear anything. Because the truth is, it's all positive. It's all in perspective. And I think by just realizing that tiny bit of truth, huge truth, and that positivity is what keeps you protected. That's what keeps you protected, is that they know intuitively that you don't want to do anybody any harm. You just want to help it out. You want to look and see where the issues lie, and say, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. I think that's what's very interesting about me going overseas. And everyone was like, oh, was it rough? Was it hard? Did you see this? Did you see that? Did you do this? Did you do that? And it's like, I never thought of it that way. My whole reason for going over there was that I felt as if I needed to help other people. I felt like I needed to be there for my comrades, to help them like a little psychologist or something, because it is a rough time to go from one location to another, and people get confused, and I see too much arrogance. I see too much arrogance in the training. There's too much arrogance in the training that we get to go overseas, and I think that's what made me so upset, is that the training made me upset, because there's too much arrogance in the training. I think that's probably the reason why I left the military, is that what I signed up for was not arrogance. It was not to shove people around. It was not to hurt people. It was not to... I felt like I was protecting the system just by being a part of it. And I think that's what made me realize why we feel the need to protect, why we feel the need to do something, is that it's not necessary. It's not necessary to have to shield ourselves all the time and do this, Gosh, I just want to. Why can't we just love each other and help each other out? There's no need for the military to. Why can't we just be self-sufficient and love each other and work together? If this person's good at farming, okay, cool. If you're good at cleaning, cool. If you like music, do it and share it. Share these things, these tools, these things that we all love, so that when somebody's in a rut, we're like, hey, I can help you out because I know how to do this. You're teaching others to fish, It's cool. So I guess I'm feeling kind of cold now. I feel like, that's the beauty of like exhausting resources in your own system. Your own system. Your own system. Your own system. Is that you share these things with people so that they can hear it, because it's a different perspective that I know people have dearly in their heart, and we don't need to push it out, we need to share it. So okay, that's all I had to share for now. Thanks for watching.